One of the biggest stories coming out of last week's race at Daytona is Kevin Monroe's big accident. He suffered a back injury that's going to keep him out of the car until after the Mexican round is over. In the meantime, Brenda Riggs will be subbing for Monroe in the 63 car. We'll just have to see if Riggs has better luck than Monroe had in these first couple of races. Moving on, this will be the first race of the Tornado Alley Trophy, a separate class of cars competing alongside the ARLA Elite Series regulars in their own championship across 5 race weekends, including the Rockford 200. The Tornado Alley Trophy competitors are marked with a T on the starting lineup, scrolling across the bottom of the screen. We will have 12 teams competing for that title during this season, although one of them is missing tonight. That's right, Tom Brayton is competing for the Tornado Alley Trophy for the racing team, but Brayton was parked from tonight's race for causing collisions under yellow in both of the first 2 races of the season. We have several other drivers starting in the back of the field tonight for causing collisions under yellow at Daytona. In fact, they were all part of the same pileup. Let's hope that these sort of accidents don't become a trend. Rip Tyler, the defending ARLA Elite Series champion, leads the field to the green flag for this first round here at Montgomery and the 5th round of the championship. The Leslie Riggs, who started on his outside, got a slightly better start, although Tyler will have the preferred line coming through turns 1 and 2. Herbie Finkelberg, the Israeli driver, tries to fight Bobby Porteau in the 74 for 3rd place. Now Finkelberg working on Leslie Riggs as Rip Tyler tries to build up a gap over the rest of the field. And he's already built up about a 3-car length lead. But we get our first caution on lap 4 as Richard Scott, the 27, gets caught in a 4-wide situation. He gets hooked by Kyle Gaffigan in the 07 and sent sliding down the front stretch. And Gaffigan becomes part of a small pileup down in turn number 1 with Chris Johans and Lenore Scurry in the 29 and 102 cars respectively. Gaffigan wasn't left with too much room there. Kiriki Itsuno in the 707 was making an ambitious move, and Gaffigan got into the side of the 29 cars. He was trying to gather it back up. Gaffigan becomes the first casualty of the night. And Barton Sandy in the 92, while the field was lining up under caution, becomes a casualty of contact between Nami Mura and Joseph Howard. Mura was promptly ordered to meet with race control. These sort of accidents that happen under caution have certainly been very frequent in these first few races. Ashley Tucker in the 90 car for Bjorn Green Racing has to pit under caution, and she falls to the back of the field, so it hasn't been a very good start to the night for Bjorn Green Racing. Leslie Riggs in the 50 car for M&J Racing blows up, coming to the restart on lap number 9. It certainly looks like that M&J Racing hasn't gotten their reliability issues sorted out. In the meantime, Rip Tyler continues to lead over Herbie Finkelberg. Taylor Brillen in the 64 is currently in 3rd place. And here is Sarah Carlisle in the 25, one of the Tornado Alley Trophy competitors, roughing up Michael Madrigal in the pie car, and she sends him up into the wall off of turn 4. That's going to bring out our second caution. Carlisle impressed me at the Rockford 200 last year, but she's not doing a very good job following up on that. Lenore Scurry in the 102 for Motor Assault Racing has to pit, coming to the caution, presumably to fix some of that damage she got in the lap 4 accident. And Rip Tyler continues to hold off Herbie Finkelberg. Hopefully this means that Power Steering Incorporated is back to form. These first 2 race weekends have been an absolute mess for them, and they're going to need another good result soon. Andrea Canassa in the 78 is currently running a lap down, and she gets hooked by Lenore Scurry, who also went a lap down. Like Scurry, Canassa was involved in the lap 4 accident, and that team had to remove the front end from that 78 car. While lining up under caution, Chris Johans gets into the back of Lev Azarov in the 82 and sends him around. And Johans was promptly ordered to meet with race control. Don't forget that Johans is a 2-time champion in this series. He really should know better than that. Bobby Porteau in the 74 took 2nd from Herbie Finkelberg in that last run, and now he's trying to work on Rip Tyler in the 16, but he's got to deal with the lapped car of Lenore Scurry, the 102, as Rip Tyler tries to build up a gap once again. Rip Tyler looks like he's got a very fast car, but he can't get away from the field because of all these cautions. Andre Canassa in the 78 gets a shove from Tyler's teammate Bixby Foot, and we got a pileup coming off of turn 2. Zach Gott in the 7 got a big piece of that. Michael Madrigal comes piling in. In the pie car, AJ Young of the 15 got a big chunk of that. It seems that Canassa has become everyone's punching bag. Here's Bixby Foot. He obviously thinks that Canassa is holding him up. He gives her a shove, but ends up into the wall himself. Zach Gott in the 7 had nowhere to go but into the back of the 14 car, and Michael Madrigal comes flying in and takes himself out. Zach Gott in the 7 drops out of the race as well. Herbie Finkelberg blows up under caution while running in 3rd place. Finkelberg finished 2nd to Barry McIntyre at Daytona last week, but obviously he's not going to be able to match that sort of result. After the restart, here's the battle for 6th between Barton Sandy and Jason Bates. Bixby Foot in the 14 is still in 5th, despite being in that accident. And Sandy's still got a fast car despite all that damage he's got to the back end, as Jason Bates now works on Bixby Foot for 5th. Here's Philip Borland as he gets turned into the wall by Sarah Carlisle after contact with the 18 of Scott Dalitz. Kelly Splicen in the 44 piles in as well, so that's 3 of the Tornado Alley Trophy cars involved in one wreck. It hasn't been a very good start to the night for the Tornado Alley Trophy contestants as Borland runs over the 27 of Scott. As Scott was limping away, Dalitz and Carlisle are involved in another accident, and Borland was understandably ordered to meet with race control. And that's Tanner Clayson in the 79, another Tornado Alley Trophy car with nowhere to go but into the 27. As Scott has heavy damage to that car, he's smoking and limping away. And then Borland comes flying in from out of nowhere. I'm not sure if Borland was angry with Scott. I hadn't seen anything between them, but that's the only reasonable explanation I can come up with, because there's no way he didn't see him. And coming back to the caution, Joseph Howard gets into the back of Namimura and takes Taylor Brillen and Lenore Scurry into the wall. It looks like Howard might not be too happy with the contact that he and Mura had under caution, and Howard was immediately bitten with an engine failure. I would say that's karmic retribution, but Mura hasn't gotten hers yet. She's still on the track, going on as if nothing happened, and I think she just gave Howard the finger as she passed by. Of course, Howard won the first round at USA International and salvaged a 6th place finish at Daytona after a failed gamble on fuel. So these first couple of races have been very good to him, but tonight, not so much, obviously. As Rip Tyler continues to lead on the restart, working lap 39. He's led every single lap so far, but then he has to pit for a mechanical problem 1 lap after the restart. And Tyler's going to fall a lap down after having what was obviously a dominant car. This is your new race leader, Bobby Porteau in the 74 for Mitchell & Sons. The Mitchells are largely funding this car out of pocket. They don't really have any outside sponsorship to speak of, but that hasn't slowed down Porteau, who won a couple of races with that team last season, as Namimura now has a mechanical problem and almost gets wiped out by Philip Borland in the E car. Mura was running in 2nd place, and like Rip Tyler, she's going to go a lap down. I guess that's the karmic retribution you were looking for, Earl. As we now look at Jason Bates, Mura's teammate over at Kurt Walker Motorsports, who has inherited the 2nd spot. Bates has been competing in the series since 2002 and has never won a race. He's definitely got the speed to win races, but he's just never been able to close the deal. As we get our 6th caution on lap 42, Kiriki Tsuno, Andre Canassa, and Sarah Carlisle all get together, sending the 707 and the 78 sliding into the inside wall, and he saw Kelly Splicen in the 44 just barely clip Tsuno. There's Rip Tyler in the 16, who is trying to make up as much ground as he can at this point. Tanner Clayson in the 79 car for his own team, Clayson Enterprises, is currently in 5th place. Clayson is the highest running of any of the Tornado Alley Trophy competitors at the moment, and that's kind of an odd grill pattern that they've cut out on the front of that 79 car. I'm not sure what kind of advantage that might give them. Bobby Porteau continues to lead on the restart with Jason Bates behind him. Bixby Foot, Lenore Scurry, and Andrea Canassa are all a lap down. And that is Rachel Rainsford in the 71 for Gravity Racing in 3rd place. She started in 20th, and she's gotten up to that position by staying out of trouble all night. And we've got another caution after the restart as Rip Tyler gets a shove from Namimura and is sent rolling down the backstretch. And the best car of the night and the defending series champion will go out of the race. I figured something was going to happen to him once he got stuck back there with all the people who've been wrecking. I can't say that that was entirely Mura's fault. She was getting a shove from the 24 Bell, but the result is all the same. It's a shame the PSI can't seem to catch a break in this early part of the season. Speaking of Libby Bell, here is Sarah Carlisle getting into the back of the 24 after contact between the 25 and the A9 of Robert Nelson. I would really like to ask some of these people what they're thinking. It's like once the yellow flag comes out, they all toss their brains out the window. There's no reason for any of these accidents to happen, and it's very discouraging to see that the penalties that are being handed out for them don't seem to be helping. Anyway, Bobby Porteau continues to lead on the restart. We have just 7 laps to go. And because we have less than 10 laps to go, the lapped cars were lined up right behind the top 3, allowing them to get away. And Porteau's going to be getting away from Jason Bates as Rachel Rainsford makes the move on the 51 for second place. Neither Bates nor Rainsford have ever won a race in this series, and I think it's going to be a tall order to catch up to Porteau. Oh, Porteau has a problem off of turn 2. I think that's a cut tire on the 74 car, the same problem that he had at USA International. And now this becomes the battle for the lead. Rachel Rainsford has the inside over Jason Bates with just 5 laps to go. This is Rainsford's second year with Gravity Racing Inc. and her first driving that team's flagship 71 car. She picked up sponsorship from Lynx over the offseason, undoubtedly because of her half-sister Alexis. It's been a pretty good start to the year for Rachel Rainsford. She finished 9th at USA International after being involved in multiple incidents, and 12th at Daytona after running inside the top 10 for most of the race. And now coming through the final couple of corners, Rachel Rainsford remains unopposed as she comes across the line to take her first ARLA Elite Series victory. After 3 years in the series, Rainsford started all the way back in 20th and wasted no time storming through the field in this short race. Jason Bates lets another victory slip away. He comes home second for Kurt Walker Motorsports. Barton Sandy and Robert Nelson, the 2 Australian drivers, 3rd and 4th. Ashley Tucker 5th. So after some trouble early on for Bjorn Green Racing, they got both of their cars in the top 5. Barry McIntyre, the surprise winner from Daytona, comes home a quiet 11th. Kiriki Itsuno, the other Daytona winner, 13th. AJ Young finishes a surprising 16th. He was the last car on the lead lap. Namimura was the first car 1 lap down. Bobby Porteau lost 3 laps in the pit lane and ended up in 22nd place, and everyone behind him fell out, including Rip Tyler, who won the pole and led the most laps. Richard Scott and Michael Madrigal were knocked around a bit today. Herbie Finkelberg and Leslie Griggs both fell out with engine failures after having a good start to the race. And now we move on to round number 2, where Makoto Yamada has taken the pole in a very surprising run for that 22 Big Mac Racing team. There isn't a whole lot of money going into that 22 team, but they were surprisingly very fast during qualifying. But Yamada's already being hounded by that 77 of Jim Hayes. I'm wondering if that team just tricked out their car to be fast for 2 laps. However, with the number of cautions we've seen tonight, that may not be a terrible idea, as we see Stacy St. Martin get turned around on the first lap by Alex Carson. Stacy St. Martin, who is competing for the Tornado Alley Trophy at Alley Riggs Racing, is off to a bad start, although she was off the pace throughout practice and qualifying. And on the restart, Carson strikes again as he turns Cletus McGuffey in the 54 around. This is a rough start to the night for Team Burr as well, as Derek Dudding fell out of the race with an engine failure on lap 2 under caution. Makoto Yamada continues to lead on the restart, but Jim Hayes is under the 22 car entering turn number 3. He noses ahead, and he's going to get to the line as the caution is out once again. John Hawks in the 114 running in 9th place, gets a shove from Ryan Matthews in the 116. He flies up into the wall right in front of Joel Rodriguez and Frank Asher. I'm sorry, that's Nick Asher in the 46, and we've got a couple more cars piling in at the back. That is Andrew Hector in the 04. one of the Tornado Alley Trophy competitors from Motor Event, and he just piles into the back of the 86 of Ryan Griffin. Motor Event is one of the only teams running an L3 engine, and Hector goes out of the race along with a couple other cars. After the restart, Harry Esanola in the 45 makes a move for second from the 4th spot on both Kurt Walker and Makoto Yamada. Kurt Walker moved over to Peter Irving Gray's team this year after spending a number of seasons at Riggs Motorsports. However, those are former Riggs cars that Peter Irving Gray is fielding for Enola and his teammate J.W. Lester, the 5.0 car. Enola's last win in the series came all the way back in 2010. Here is Brenda Riggs off to a good start in the 63, replacing Kevin Monroe. At the moment, she is trying to hold off her daughter Ellie for 6th. Of course, Allie Riggs is driving for herself this year, and she is not making life easy for her mother. The 63 kept trying to make the turn in, but the 19 kept sticking her nose in there at the last second. Allie has the position now, but Brenda is not giving up. I've heard a lot of drivers say that they would race their own family members much harder than anyone else on the track, and that obviously seems to be the case at the moment. I thought that Allie Riggs going off and starting her own team would be career suicide, but it doesn't seem to be working out too badly for her so far. She got a top 5 finish at USA International, and although she went a lap down at Daytona, she's got a fast car in these opening laps, as she now dispatches the 63 and leaves Brenda to deal with Lucy Barton in the 84. And here's Cletus McGuffey, costing Jim Hayes the lead and smashing the wall in turn 2. McGuffey's been off the pace all weekend, but of course we've come to expect this from Team Burr. McGuffey was one of the drivers penalized at Daytona, and now he's going to hold up a bunch of people. Trey Ashby in the 12, Carlo DiPreto the 37, and Lucas Sweeney in the 8. And Sweeney in the stack-up gets into the back of the 37 of DiPreto, turning him around on the front stretch. Ryan Griffin in the 86, not left with too many options but to run into the 37. Carlo DiPreto is competing for the Tornado Alley Trophy for Tom Delgado Racing. He won at Saitama last season, which came as quite the surprise. Lucy Barton in the 84 is currently in 6th place, and you see Brenda Riggs diving into the pits after the restart. She turns the 54 coming off of turn 4. McGuffey goes into the wall, and everybody passes him without further incident. So that's going to keep the 54 out of everyone's way for a while, as Barton now comes under attack from the 859 of Nick Howard. Here is Trey Ashby running behind Robert Lechleiter. He gets into the back of the 110 and then gets hooked by the 2 of Alex Carson. And this time Alex Carson is not at fault for spinning somebody. The 12 simply swept across his bumper. As the field took the caution, Zach Webster in the 23 got loose, tagged the 75 of Cyrus Laterza and spun into the wall. I think Webster was much harder on the brakes than he needed to be, and because this was a self-inflicted incident, the officials didn't look into it. After the restart, Isaac Leitner gets turned into the wall by Dan Lechleiter in the 10L. Leitner pancaked the side of that 94 car, but he kept going without too much of a problem. And here's the field trying to sort themselves out under caution. J.W. Lester in the 5-0 pulls left into Ryan Matthews and takes the 116 and the 19 of Allie Riggs into the wall. Trey Ashby gets turned by the 86 of Ryan Griffin in the stack-up. This is getting quite tiring, and I'm pretty sure there are several other people out there who would agree with me. And now Harry Enola's got a problem with that 45 car, and he has to pit from the lead. I'm not surprised about this at all. Enola's got the speed to win races, but he certainly doesn't have the luck to back that up. And until last season, this guy right here, Kurt Walker, who inherited the lead, had that same problem as well. That's right, Walker, who is competing for the Tornado Alley Trophy this year, had a 5-year winless streak until he finally got a victory at Memphis last season. Walker is a former 2-time champion of the series, and he is second on the all-time win list with 34 victories. Makoto Yamada seems to have gotten the hang of this 22 car, and he is back up into 5th place. I believe that Yamada's best finish in the series was a 4th place at Alberta in 2011. Brenda Riggs got back on the lead lap under that last caution, and she doesn't seem to be happy with the pace of the 114 of John Hawkes, and she dumps him to the inside coming off of turn 4. Well, I think it's pretty clear where Allie Riggs gets her aggressive driving style from. Here is Lucas Sweeney in the 8, running in 14th. Watch Zach Webster. He hooks Stacy St. Martin and turns her into the 8 car, but Sweeney saves the car and continues on as if nothing happened. However, Stacy St. Martin and Casey Campbell, who was also collected, aren't going to get off so easily. They both tag the inside wall, and here comes Jack Dempsey in the 41. He piles into the 5 car. Ramsey Cockiner in the 31 for Eichelt's Atlantic Racing was running in the top 5 all night, but then he has to pit for a mechanical problem. I'm worried that Cockiner is going to be another one of those guys who gets plagued by bad luck after having good runs. He was well on his way to winning Daytona, but then he blew his engine. Kurt Walker continues to lead after the restart. We are approaching 10 laps to go. Jim Hayes in the 77 trying to hound the 98 car. Laura Cyrus in the 42 sits back in 3rd place. And Makota Yamada has inherited 4th after Cockiner had to pit. I think the top 3 are starting to break away from everyone else as Cyrus starts to close in on the 77 car. And here's Cletus McGuffey in the 54. I wonder what good can come of this. So Cyrus Laterza turns him into the inside wall, and we got a few other cars in the wall as well. Isaac Leitner, Brenda Riggs, and Ramsey Cockiner. And that was a separate incident. They didn't hit the 54. I think Leitner swerved to avoid him and swept across the 63's bumper. Isaac Leitner will be lining up 22nd under this caution. He had some impressive runs in the 7 car for Gravity Racing last season, and while he still has ties to that team, he will be competing for the Tornado Alley Trophy for his family's team. The race is back underway with just 4 laps to go. Kurt Walker trying to hold off Jim Hayes. Hayes takes a peek to the inside, entering turn number 3. That's the preferred line. I'm not sure how long Kurt Walker would be able to hold him off, but the caution is out once again. J.W. Lester in the 5-0 is going to get turned around by Casey Campbell in the 422. He just barely gets clipped by Alex Carson. Isaac Leitner hard on the brakes, couldn't quite avoid getting into the back of the 5-0, but no damage is done there. And here is Zach Webster in the 23 getting turned around by Lucy Barnton. After the caution is out, and Stacy St. Martin in the 5 gets into the back of the 23. It looks like St. Martin was involved in an incident further back. Robert Leckleiter got into the 8 of Lucas Sweeney, and they both pulled into the 5 car. Not much that Sweeney could have done there. And naturally, the officials wanted to have a word with both Barnton and Leckleiter. Now, in years past, a yellow flag with so few laps remaining would have ended the race right then and there. However, before the Rockford 200 last year, the officials wrote in an overtime rule. Kurt Walker, the race leader, is coming to the line to end the advertised distance of 60 laps, and then what will happen is the race will be red flagged, the lapped cars will be eliminated, and the remaining teams will be given 15 minutes to repair cosmetic damage. And an additional 2 laps will be added. To settle this race, the field lines up double file for the first green-white checkered finish in series history. Kurt Walker gets a fantastic start over Jim Hayes, but Cyrus in the 42 is all over the back of the 98. Coming onto the backstretch, Makota Yamada and Jim Hayes fight for 3rd. I guarantee you that 22 car was set up for these sort of 2-lap runs. That's how he got the pole. But the caution is out once again. Yamada gets hooked into the inside wall. And we have a crash in turn number 1 as the field tries to settle behind the pace car. But before we get to that, here's why we are under caution for the 9th time in this race. J.W. Lester gets into the back of the 31 of Ramsey Cockiner coming out of turn number 2. Cockiner gets spun well out of harm's way. This was at the back of the field. I don't think that this should have brought out a caution. And here's what happened to Yamada coming to the yellow flag. He gets hooked by the 859 of Nick Howard and flies back up into him. I'm not sure if that was an act of revenge, but that took Jim Hayes in the 77 into the wall as well. And Race Control wanted to meet with Makota Yamada after we get this thing settled. And with the new advertised distance of 62 laps ending under caution, well, we're going to do this whole thing all over again. We're going to get this race restarted as many times as we need to end it under green. nobody is being eliminated this time around. We still have 25 cars taking the restart. Kurt Walker is still the leader. Laura Cyrus has moved up into second. Makoto Yamada got his spot back, which I kind of disagree with. But no matter, Kurt Walker and Yamada try to get away from the field as the green flag flies. Yamada on the inside of the 98 coming into turn number 3. Jim Hayes in the 77 started in 5th. He's all over the back of that 22 car. And there goes Hayes peeking to the inside. He's going to try to make it 3 wide coming into turn 1. We saw a car get turned around at the back, but we're still racing. Jim Hayes takes the lead off of turn number 2. And Jim Hayes, with that daring pass, clears the 22 off the final corner, and he takes his second win of the season in his rookie year. This has been quite the sluggish night with such a high caution count, but the fans got an exciting battle for the win at the end of it all. Ryan Griffin got turned around coming to the white flag, and we had another crash coming off of turn 2 as Carlo DePreto tried to go 4 wide and sent Lucas Sweeney himself, Lucy Barton, and Hazel May Fratton all into the wall. I don't think we could have expected anything else with so many cars trying to grab positions with such a short run. Jim Hayes has been in the series for such a short time, and he is already a repeat winner. Makoto Yamada gets his best career finish. Allie Riggs comes home third. She made up quite a few positions during overtime. Kurt Walker got shuffled back to 4th after being in position to win this race at the end of the advertised distance. Brenda Riggs, Harry Enola, and Isaac Leitner were all able to make up ground during overtime. Lucas Sweeney didn't fare too badly in that last lap crash. He comes home 15th, and Alex Carson brings home 19th. Another top 20 finish for Pearson Sweeney Motorsports. Hazel May Fratton ended up a lap down after that last lap crash. Cletus McGuffey and Trey Ashby were eliminated because they were a lap down when we went into overtime, and Stacy St. Martin was eliminated due to crash damage. And then Derek Dudding, who comes home last, was only able to complete 2 laps before blowing up in that Team Burr car. And now here are the point standings. Leaving Montgomery, Jim Hayes takes the lead away from his teammate Joseph Howard. He now leads by 38 points over Rachel Rainsford, who has vaulted all the way up to 2nd. Joseph Howard slides back to 3rd. Allie Riggs is 4th. Jason Bates and Jessica Graham are tied for 5th. And we have another tie for 9th between Laura Cyrus and her Racers with Disabilities teammates Kiriki Hitsuno and Edwin Schwartzlowski. Another tie for 12th between Harry Enola and Barton Sandy. A 3-way tie for 17th between Nick Howard, Bobby Porto, and Robert Leckleiter. We are 6 races in, and we still have quite a few ties to settle. Barry McIntyre moves up to 23rd place, even though he's only been in 2 races this year. Makoto Yamada is 27th. Lenore Scurry and John Hawks are tied for 30th. AJ Young is surprisingly in 33rd. Well, he's in a tie for that position with Seiji Deschao and Namimura. The dual championship effort between those two. Lucy Barton is 38th. I think we can count on her getting a points penalty. And Trey Ashby rounds out the top 40. And now here are the Tornado Alley Trophy standings after their first race. Kurt Walker sits on top of the standings after his 4th place effort. Sarah Carlisle is 2nd. I think we can count on her and Robert Leckleiter getting penalties. Philip Borland, I think we can expect a penalty for him as well. Andrew Hector in the 04 for Motor Event is last among the drivers who participated in this race. And Tom Brayton is obviously sitting on nothing because he was parked.